show you my mini bike today. It's a 1972 Honda Z50A K3. Now I grew up riding one of these, except a 69, and the 69 was a hardtail. So this has kind of always been on my want to get list. So back in 2020, I had an opportunity to pick this one up. Now, restored in this condition, I've seen them go for $3,000, $3,500. And so when I picked this guy up for $700, I felt pretty good. But after everything I've done to it, now I know why they sell for about $3,500, because, you know, it's a little bit pricey to start replacing parts on this. Although I think I've taken this a step further, as I'll get to in a minute, than some other bikes. So I saw it on Facebook Marketplace, drove a couple hours to pick it up. I was so excited to get it that I didn't look at it too closely. I put it in the van and brought it home and set to work on it. The seller said it only had an electrical problem, that once I fixed that, it would work. Not really the case. It was in pretty rough shape. Some of the problems that it had were like mismatched handlebars. One of the handlebars was from a 69, so it was a taller and different shape. So I had to get another one of those off of eBay. The rear wheel was shot and the rim was rusted badly, and the rubber was dry rotted. When I tried to get the rubber off, it just, you know, the wheel just kind of crumbled to pieces, bent to pieces, and wouldn't come off. So I bought a new used rim on eBay, and I bought a new tire off of Amazon. The fuel tank was in really bad shape. There were a few rust pinholes, so I took a wire brush to it and cleaned it up. And the more I cleaned it up, the more pinholes I found. So I put a ton of JB weld on it. I did a rust inhibitor treatment, and then I did a fuel tank sealant treatment with POR 15 fuel tank sealant. And after one treatment with that, it still leaked. So I was about to give up and just buy a new gas tank. You can buy new aftermarket fuel tanks for this. They're a bit pricey. But before I did that, I did one more POR 15 treatment, and that worked. And it has not leaked a drop since. I painted up the fuel tank. I taped off, this is the original decal on the side. So I taped that off and painted the rest of the fuel tank. Gave it a really nice look. The exhaust is full of holes. I patched it up with sheet metal, rivets, and silicone, and it's adequate, but that's probably one of the next things that I want to get for it. The seat cover was badly torn up, and of course you can buy aftermarket seats. They're very expensive. Instead, I just picked up this aftermarket replacement vinyl cover. But when I took the old vinyl off, the steel underneath was badly rusted, and so I cut the rusted part off and welded a new strip on, painted it up, and then put the same foam back on it, and then the new cover, and that looks really nice. I'm really pleased with that. Other things that the bike needed, it needed new clutch discs, so put a new clutch in it. These are new handlebar lock screws. It needed a new one of these little screws here. Don't know what those are called. Of course, I said it needed a new handlebar, needed new brake cables on front and rear. Oops, excuse me, rear's not a cable, rear's a hard rod, so that was okay. New brake pads, front and rear. New kickstand, new chain, new taillight lens, new light bulbs, of course, for the taillight and the headlight, a bunch of little hardware pieces, a bunch of screws throughout the whole thing. Now, it came with a carburetor, an aftermarket carb. That's not the carb that's on it. I'll get to that in a minute. But it came with an aftermarket carb and a throttle handle and throttle cable. On the electrical, as I said, the seller said the electrical was not working. He was correct. Basically replaced the entire electrical system. The The original Sater plate was completely shot, so I replaced the whole thing and all the components on it. Basically all the wiring that you see is replaced, as well as a new coil. So new coil with the new spark plug wire on it. Once I finally got the electrical taken care of, it fired right up. And I think I have a video of that I'll show here. Choke it off.
I was thinking about getting a kill switch.
Take some video.
I'm taking video.
Oh. Well, I turned it off. We already had it running, but let's try it again. Now it's starting to choke off.
It's smoking out the back of the. It's smoking out from behind under the seat.
Yeah, it's smoking a lot.
Around the spark plug too. I can't wait to do that. Yay! A lot of smoke.
Wow.
I want to turn.
Here, let's adjust the carburetor a little bit. Go grab the...
Straight down first gear.
Push down once. Just stand first for a while. That's... What? Don't rev it too high. Now you're in second. Up one more time and you'll go into first. Up. And then one more time and you'll be in neutral.
Now you can stop it. Press the brake. And then just leave it like this.
Yeah, choke it.
Do you see this golden bar? Pull it up all the way. It means it's just...
Biker babe.
I don't...
Once we got it running, we had some fun on it, put it around. It smoked really badly, but when I put an air breather on it, it wouldn't run. And so actually the compression was so low, it lacked enough vacuum even to suck air in through the air breather. And I decided to tear in the engine and rebuild the engine. So I tore the engine apart, and here is the original cylinder. It's pretty worn, pretty pitted. I think in the light you should be able to see that, all the pitting. I took the cylinder in to a machinist at a motorcycle shop. He said, you know, he could bore it out or sleeve it or whatever, but he also pointed out that my head was badly worn. You know, the cam was, you know, really loose. I don't know how to judge, you know, head wear necessarily, but the rocker arms, he just showed me how much play was in the cam and the rocker arms and the valves, and basically said even if I rebuilt the engine, I'd still have loads of, you know, problems with the head. And he said it probably wasn't worth the money, and recommended instead that I try an 88cc big bore kit. And I had seen those online. I didn't know much about them. He said, yeah, he said 88cc big bore kit for this Z50 should work really well. He said he had done it before. So that's what I did. That's why this engine is still sitting here in this box. So the engine that is on the bike now is the 88cc big bore kit from TB Parts. So I ordered that, and while I waited, I decided to tear the bike completely apart. and I mean complete. Every single nut, every bolt, every screw, every gear, you name it, it was off the bike. I painted everything, the forks, the frame, the engine components that needed paint, I painted. I polished all the chrome as well as I could. The engine and crankcase I completely disassembled. And at one point I had the entire mini bike laid out on a folding table in the garage. Everything laid out, pretty much the entire bike laid out on that bench. It took a while for the big bore kit to come. This was during COVID, everything took a while, but once it came, I reassembled everything. First, second, third, second, first, neutral. Oil pump just installed, new gaskets. Got most of the engine assembled. Everything's moving like it should. So here is an 88cc big bore kit from Fat MX in Canada. Aluminum cylinder. You can see the size difference. 88cc versus the original 50cc. Cylinder. Head. Pretty light compared to the other one. Kit came with a carburetor. Intake manifold. Gaskets. Piston. Again, you can see the size difference between the original 50cc and this 88cc. Pretty cool. Rings. Everything to put her together. Once it came, I reassembled everything. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos to know how to reassemble properly. I actually had taken video of the entire crankcase transmission disassembly process, so I knew where everything was, so I could put everything back in the right place. And then once I got it back together, she fired right up. Honda Z50 K3 1972. First start after rebuild with an 88cc big bore kit.
Fuel.
Yep. Fuel is on. Sammy's gonna start it. Oh. Oh. No, not too much. Hey, stop. Just let it break in. No, you gotta just keep it running nice and slow. Look at that.
It's not.
Oh, we can adjust it. Where on this carburetor too?
Oh, it's on the other side.
It's annoying.
And they're different types.
Oh, better.
Yeah.
Wow, it feels so much better. It sounds tight.
Yeah.
Oh, a few other changes. So with the big bore kit, I did put a bigger front sprocket on it, take advantage of the power, of the extra power that it has, get a little more speed out of it. And so it's a pretty rowdy bike. It's a lot of fun. The front wheel will pop up pretty easily. That's got people when they ride it for the first time, they give it some gas and it pops up. It's been laid down a few times because of that, even when I warn people. We take it on family trips. It actually fits very nicely in the back of the minivan with all the luggage around it, and 6 passengers in the van, my wife and I and the 4 kids. We can take the mini bike with us. I had it at my brother's. We did a land speed test out in a hayfield, and I had an app in my pocket, and I hit 25.65 miles per hour. So I imagine on a flat or even with a even larger front sprocket, which they do sell, I could get a little bit more out of that. So all in all, really fun little bike. But there's still one major problem with the bike. The 88cc big bore kit came with a Shangway PZ20 carb. And you can pick these up for 25 bucks, 35 bucks online. They're very common with these kits. And I've seen people online say they work great. I've seen people online say they're absolute junk. As far as I can tell, this one is absolute junk. I cannot get a good tune on the bike. Won't idle well. I've changed the jets. I don't profess at all to be a carb guy, but I mean, I've tinkered with small engines and mini bikes and motorcycles enough that I've never had carb problems like I have with this. So it fouls plugs. I'm hoping that's just the carbs. So I emailed TB Parts and they responded right away and they recommended the Mikuni VM20-273 carb. And I've actually got one right here. This Mikuni, this is 110 bucks, 120 bucks, something like that. But that is next for this bike, is to get this Mikuni on there, and I'm told this should hopefully be a very good carb for the bike. I'll have to do another video on that. This has not run in 2 or 3 months because, like I said, it fouls plugs. So the kids had it out at the farm. It quit running because it had a fouled plug. I pulled the plug just a little bit ago, pulled it out, cleaned it off, stuck it back in. It may fire right up. We'll see. If not, I put a new plug in it. It will fire right up. I can guarantee it. But let's get it down and see if it'll start. Okay, well that's it for today for the mini bike. We'll get that new carb on it and see if that helped it out just a little bit. Actually, it was idling okay, but it was bogging a little bit as I was zooming back and forth there. So excited to get that Mikuni carb on there to see if that helps things out. I'll keep you posted.